Hello Pollyannas. Okay, let's talk about optimism bias, because I think human beings have a tendency to have a bias towards optimism. Okay, optimism bias is so it's been demonstrated. There's strong empirical evidence. You don't say something is demonstrated unless there is strong empirical evidence for believing the findings. Optimism bias is a demonstrated systematic tendency. Systematic. So it's a thorough phenomenon in the way that people's minds work. For people to be overly optimistic about the outcome of planned action. So people are overly optimistic about the outcome of bringing children into the world. This includes overestimating the likelihood of positive events and underestimating the likelihood of negative events. So people generally underestimate the likelihood that negative events will happen to their child, and they overestimate the likelihood of positive events happening to their future child. Along with the illusion of control, well, there's no free will, and illusory superiority. Yeah, people are deluded that they generally think that they're better than everybody else. It is one of the positive illusions to which people are generally susceptible. Excessive optimism can result in cost overruns, benefit shortfalls, and delays when plans are implemented or expensive projects are built. More generally, they are related to the initiation of military conflicts and the creation of economic bubbles. So you've got people going into war because they have an optimism bias that the outcome of their planned actions will result in a good consequence. And economic bubbles, it's all to do with greed and exploiting other people. Okay. Armour and Taylor review a number of studies that have found optimism bias in different kinds of judgment. These include second-year MBA students overestimated the number of job offers they would receive and their starting salary. Students overestimated the scores they would achieve on exams. Almost all newlyweds in a US study expected their marriage to last a lifetime, even while aware of divorce statistics. Professional financial analysts consistently overestimated corporate earnings. Most smokers believe they are less at risk of developing smoking-related diseases than others who smoke. Right. Students in one study rated themselves as much less likely than their peers, students of the same sex at the same college, to experience negative life events such as developing a drinking problem, having a heart attack, being fired from a job, or divorcing a few years after getting married. This effect, called unrealistic personal optimism, has been replicated and extended in between subject research. The research shows that optimistic bias is more prevalent in people with greater left prefrontal activation. So, for those of you who have greater left prefrontal activation, please can you try to activate some other parts of your brains, please? Optimism can induce people to underinvest in primary and preventative care. Yes, not having children is preventive care. And other risk-reducing behaviours such as abstinence from smoking. The UK government explicitly acknowledges that optimism bias is a problem in planning and budgeting, and has developed measures for dealing with optimism bias in government. So the British government acknowledges optimism bias as a phenomenon that can have detrimental effects on the state of affairs on the planet Earth. A brain imaging study found that when imagining negative future events, signals in the amygdala, an emotion center of the brain, are weaker than when remembering past negative events. This weakened consideration of positive negative outcomes is one possible mechanism for optimism bias. The activity of brain So yeah, so even looking at brain imaging, we can see that the amygdala is weakening our anticipation of future events, negative future events, and it's amplifying. Well, it's not as strong as when we remember past negative events, but if we were rational, then we would attribute the same emotional intensity to both past and future negative events. Pollyannas.